Hey friends, welcome back for chapter 5 of Ivy and Bean. So before we get into today's chapter, we're going to review chapter 4's question. So I'm going to share mine today. The question was, why do you think Ivy told Bean to hide? So I always like to cross out my question words and change you to I, and there I underline my sentence starter. So I think Ivy told Bean to hide so that she won't get into trouble. Maybe Ivy has also been wanting to hang out with Bean. Which is a good thought. Maybe she's been watching Bean just like Bean's been watching Ivy. I don't know. So we're also going to go over this week's vocabulary words. Now we don't have a new word today. We're going to review the ones we've learned so far. So the first one was relationships. This was a noun that means connections. Mischievous. This was an adjective that means liking to cause trouble in a playful way. Remember, we talked about how Bean and Nancy both like to be a little mischievous. Creative, an adjective that means able to make something new with good imagination. We're going to actually talk a little bit about this word again today for this chapter. And the last one was suspense, a noun that means a feeling of excitement about what might happen. And this was the word for the last chapter because remember, Ivy told Bean to hide and they were going to a secret place. But we don't know exactly what that place is yet. So we're gonna find out today. All right, get your chapter books out and get ready to read. Okay, now while we read this chapter, I want you to look for evidence that both Ivy and Bean are creative. Okay, our word from last week. All right, Ivy hatches a plan. Bean opened her eyes. They were in a corner of Ivy's backyard. There was a big rock on one side and a small tree on the other. Between them was a perfectly round puddle. "This is the secret spot?" asked Bean. She had expected something more secret looking, like a cave. "Yes, they'll never find you here," said Ivy. "You can stay for as long as you want. I'll bring you food." "But I only need to stay until dinner time," Bean said. Ivy looked disappointed. "I thought you wanted to run away." "I do, but only till dinner." "Oh." Bean felt bad about not staying. "Wouldn't you get in trouble if your parents found out I was living here?" she asked. "They don't come out here much," Ivy said. "My mom is afraid of ticks." "You probably don't ever get in trouble anyway," said Bean, feeling glum. "I'm always in trouble." "I do too get in trouble," said Ivy. "No, you don't," Bean said. "You read books all the time. You can't get in trouble for reading books." Ivy said, "I will get in trouble, really huge trouble, if I do what I want to do, what I plan to do." Bean waited. "Well, what do you plan to do?" Ivy looked all around before she whispered, "Spells, magic, potions." "Really? You mean like a witch?" "Yes. Well, not yet, but I'm going to be a witch," said Ivy. Her eyes were glowing. "I'm learning how." Bean looked at Ivy's black bathrobe. It was kind of dirty now, and some of the little pieces of paper had fallen off. Bean saw that the papers were cut into star and moon shapes. Bean also saw that Ivy didn't know how to draw stars. Some of them had 4 points, and some only had 3. The moons didn't look so good either. "Is that a witch's robe?" she asked. "Yeah," said Ivy. "Did you make it yourself?" asked Bean. "Yeah." "It's nice," said Bean politely. It didn't look like a witch's robe. It looked goofy. "I didn't know you could learn to be a witch. I thought you just had to be one." "That's what most people think," said Ivy, "but I'm learning. I probably know more than most born witches my age. I just learned this spell that makes you invisible." Wow, Bean could use that for sure. "Will you teach me? That would be great." "I haven't done it yet," Ivy admitted. "You've got to have a dead frog." "Oh, it would be really mean to kill a frog." "Yeah, that's why I dug this pond." Ivy pointed to the puddle with her gold stick. "I'm hoping a frog will come here and die." Bean didn't mention that it looked like a puddle. "Wow," she said. "What's the stick for?" "That's my wand," said Ivy. Bean couldn't help it. She burst out laughing. "That's not a wand. That's just a stick painted gold." "It is too a wand." Now Ivy looked mad. "And you better watch out, or I'll use it on you." Bean stopped laughing. "Use it how?" "I'll cast the dancing spell on you. You won't be able to stop dancing for the rest of your life. Like this." She started jumping up and down, kicking out her legs and waggling her arms. "Could you really?" asked Bean. Ivy stopped dancing. "Maybe. I was just going to test it when you started yelling about being a ghost." "Who were you going to test it on?" asked Bean. Ivy's face turned red. "Nobody," she said. Bean could tell she was lying. "Come on, who?" Ivy's face got redder. "Come on, tell me," said Bean. Ivy looked at the dirt. "You," she said in a low voice. "Me?" yelped Bean. "What did I ever do to you?" "I'm sorry," said Ivy. She did look sorry. "That's okay," said Bean. There was a pause. "My mother keeps on saying, 'What a nice girl you are,'" Ivy said. "She's always telling me I should play with you. It's driving me nuts." Bean couldn't believe it. "That's what my mother says about you. That's so funny, but you're not nice at all. You're a witch." Ivy giggled. "You're not very nice either. You were doing that ghost thing in the bush." Bean was embarrassed. "The part about the icy fingers was good," said Ivy. "What were you doing in there anyway?" Bean sat down on the rock. "I was waiting for Nancy. That's my sister. She's a total pain in the kazoo. I put $20 on a string, and I was going to pull it out of her hand when she reached down to pick it up. Ivy nodded. Is that why she got mad at you? No, she got mad at me because it was her $20. Bean felt glum again. Ivy saw that Bean was worrying. Are you going to be in trouble? Yeah, probably. I'm not supposed to mess with her money, Bean thought. You don't have a going back in time spell, do you? No, those are hard, said Ivy. She looked at her pond. I wish I had a dead frog. That would be good, said Bean. But wait a second. What about the dancing spell? Could you put it on Nancy? So she'll dance for the rest of her life? How is that going to get you out of trouble? Ivy asked. It's not, said Bean, but it would be really funny. I think so too. So, what ways do you think Ivy and Bean are creative? What evidence in the story told us that? I'm thinking that Ivy, remember, was trying to be a witch, and she was creative by developing or creating her own robe, making the stars and the moons. She had her wand that she painted gold. So I think that's very creative. It's a great idea. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and then you'll go back and reread it, remember, either on your own or with a partner. And I want you to think this time about why the girls might end up becoming friends. Okay, go ahead and pause it. Okay, now that you've gone ahead and reread that chapter again, it's time for us to look at our bonus questions. So, the first one was, what evidence is there that Ivy wants to be friends with Bean? I'm thinking that Ivy first wanted to hide Bean so that she didn't get in trouble. And now Ivy's trying to get Bean interested in her witch stuff that she's doing. The next one says, how are the girls similar? I think that the girls are a lot more alike than they thought that they were. Because Bean said to Ivy, oh, you never get in trouble. But Ivy said, sure I do. And that she was actually planning to cause some trouble. Again, I think being a little mischievous. And the next question is, why do both girls want to cast a spell on Nancy? This one had a great picture at the end of the chapter. I think because, number one, it would be really funny. Number two, Bean could then almost get back at Nancy. And three, I think that Ivy wants to see if she can really get one of her spells to work. So there's a couple different reasons for that one. Okay, the last question today is going to be the one for your written response. How does Ivy make Bean interested in her witch project? Okay, so you're gonna think about that one, think about what was in the story using evidence, and then go ahead, write your answer, and remember to take a picture and send it to your teacher. Okay, the last thing that we're going to look at is our graphic organizer. Okay, so here's our graphic organizer for today. Our characters are still the same. The setting is still the same, although we probably could add that now they are in Ivy's backyard. So if you want to add that to yours, you certainly can. The problem is still the same, And the events, I had to add a new column over here because I ran out of space. So number 5 for chapter 5 would be that Ivy and Bean make a plan. Okay, they're going to buddy up and they're going to see if they can get some of these spells to work and find the ingredients that they need. Okay, remember your graphic organizer should match mine because this is the graphic organizer for the whole book, not just one chapter at a time. Okay, so if you're doing the graphic organizer with us, I want you to make sure that it matches. Yours should look like mine. Okay, all right, I'll see you next time for chapter 6.